preparing your assessment, you'll want to check the Test Key tab. The first thing you'll notice on the Test Key are your performance levels. This is a double check because remember you've set the performance levels on your General tab. You're just confirming that the performance levels are in fact what you and your team decided for Approaches, Meets, and Masters. If for any reason you need to change them, your team and you have discussed it and agreed that maybe you want to make the approaches a little more challenging, you can use those arrow keys and reset whatever changes you need. It will automatically save, and you can continue scrolling down on your Test Key. On the Test Key tab, after you confirm your performance levels, you'll scroll down and look at correct response, scoring, item max, and item weight. You'll want to confirm that the correct response matches the scoring and item score percentage that you want for this test. For example, on question 1, there's only one correct answer choice. It's giving the scoring of correct and correct to students, meaning all right, all wrong. And it's counting 1 times an item weight of 1 for 20% of the overall test. If this is correct, you'll go down to question 2. Question 2, notice that there are 2 correct answer choices, and it's scoring as correct, incorrect. That means this student will get credit if they get both correct answers. If they get one incorrect with the other correct, it will count this incorrect. Right now, it is an item max of 1 times an item weight of 2, meaning that this is going to count twice on this test for 40%. This is where a lot of confusion comes in. If you're actually intending for the student to get partial credit, you'll need to change the item max and the scoring. To change it, click the pencil. Change your scoring method from correct, incorrect to partial credit. That means if the student gets both right, they'll get 2 points. If the student gets 1, they'll get 1 point. And if the student gets none, they'll get 0 points. Notice that because the item max has now changed to 2 to match partial credit, the item weight stayed 2. That means it's counting this particular question of an item weight times 2. We do not recommend that you change the item weights from a 1 to a 2 or 3 or more. We recommend that the item weights stay at 1 at all times. So I'm going to make sure that that says 2 times 1, not 1 times 2, and click Save. Now it's still 40% of the test, but it's giving the student credit for if they've answered at least partial correct. And it's counting that item weight as only 1 time. I'll keep going. Item number 3, scoring range 0 to 2. This is a constructed response, and it's being scored on a rubric. The student can get up to 2 points, and it's only counted 1 time for 40% total of the test. Once you've reviewed your scoring and correct responses and item max and item weight, notice that you can make any changes by clicking those pencils on the right. You'll want to come down here and double check your total raw score is matching what you intended. Notice that Aware is automatically calculating this. You do not need to calculate this yourself. We do not recommend changing any item weight. Leave them all set to 1. And we don't recommend changing anything in item scores. You're just confirming that this isn't what you intended scoring-wise. The next thing you'll want to review on your test key is your depth of knowledge. If your team is working together to create depth of knowledge labeling, you'll check it here. Notice that you have a depth of knowledge 1, depth of knowledge 2, and nothing noted for question 3. If you've worked with your team and you decided that you do not want to assign a depth of knowledge, you'll leave it as is. If, however, you just simply forgot to include the depth of knowledge, click the pencil to add the depth of knowledge that you intended. Click the level you need and click Save. That's how you'll review your depth of knowledge from the Test Key tab. To review your standards from the Test Key tab, click Test Key, scroll down to Standards. Standards are your TEKS that you've assigned to each question. You'll want to confirm that each question has a standard attached. If you're missing a standard, click the pencil and the plus sign to add your primary standard. Type in the standard you need and select it. If you need a secondary standard, click the plus sign and repeat the process. If you don't, close out and click Save. That is how you'll review your TEKS or standards being attached in the Test Key tab. The final thing that you'll want to review in the Test Key tab is if you're using a resource, you'll want to review that the resource has been linked to the question. On the Test Key tab, scroll down and look at the links to confirm each question is attached to the resource it needs to be attached to. You'll notice that these first questions, 1 and 2, are attached or linked to a resource. You'll notice because the line is through the link. If you see an open link, it is not attached to the resource. Students will see a resource to the left and a question to the right when a question is linked to a resource. They'll continue clicking through the test and they'll see the resource on the left and the question on the right. If a question is not linked to the resource, they will not see the passage on the left, they will see the question. If you intended for the question not to be linked to the resource, you'll leave it as is. However, if you expected this question to be linked to the resource so that students could refer to the resource for their response, you'll need to link the question to the resource. So again, if you realize that question 3 was supposed to be linked to the resource, and it is not, from the Test Key tab, click on Link Question to Resource. Check the resource that you want that question linked to. If you have multiple resources, notice you'll have them listed here by name. Check the appropriate one and click Update. Now, each question is linked to the resource. That's how you confirm questions that are linked to resources in the Test Key tab.